Tim Sullivan here, doing the commentary of Funhouse for Shout Factory's brand new Blu-ray release, and I am honored to be here with the director of the film himself, Tobe Hooper.
Hi there, I'm Tobe Hooper.
Yes, you are. And I just, 1981 this movie came out. I saw it at a drive-in in New Jersey. I never thought I'd be here sitting next to the guy who made this movie and gave me a lot of nightmares as we're doing this commentary track.
As we're doing the commentary track?
Yes. So you were coming off of, this was 1981, you were coming off of Salem's Lot.
Right.
And this was, at the time, your first big kind of studio film, right?
It was, yes. Yeah.
Universal.
Yeah.
So how did it come about? How did you go from Salem's Lot to the Funhouse?
Well, Derek Power, the associate producer, got in touch with me and gave me the script, and then I spoke to Larry Block, the screenwriter, mm-hmm. and it was the idea of there being a real anomaly inside a carnival, and I thought, well, that sounds pretty cool, and then we slowly started sculpting it and building it and trying to find a place to shoot it, because since most of it was at night on the West Coast, the laws for child actors, you can't shoot after a certain period.
Oh, that's
of
right.
night.
Yeah.
So we had to go to the East Coast and cast mostly from the East Coast, and shot it in Miami. At the old Ivan Tors studios, and
Miami.
Well, and also, it had another plus, and that was that's where the headquarters for all the circuses and
really?
carnivals are. Not in Miami exactly, but like in Sarasota, Florida. So what really appealed to me a lot was I'd always loved Nightmare Alley.
Hey, Tobe Hooper.
And way wanted to do a film set in a carnival. Mm-hmm. And I had my own carnival to play with.
Speaking of which, I really like the way you kind of introduced that this is an anamorphic widescreen film. This was your first widescreen film at the time, right?
Yeah, but I had a little viewfinder, from my teenage,
Oh my God!
I would always crank it over to, anamorphic, and I saw everything in anamorphic. I mean, I love this format even to today.
It really gives you a lot of room to play with and create some good vistas, especially since this is a film which so much of it is about the location and the place.
Yeah, and it's just it's just a superior composition. I'm not down. God knows all the old black and white films that I watch every day. We're in Academy.
Now here we are. We get to definitely know this movie is a Universal movie because there's so many Universal monsters all over the place here.
That's right. I was able to use clips from Bride of Frankenstein. These little things here, actually, that little winking ventriloquist dog belonged to Sherry Lewis.
Oh, Lamb Chop.
Yeah, Lamb Chop. Yeah.
Really?
And Mason Neufeld was a friend of hers, and he said, we can borrow some stuff from
I didn't know that Sherry Lewis played with knives. Oh, you mean the
No.
I know. So now we're kind of starting the film off in the traditional of the day. Yep, of course.
Yeah.
This was what was so unique about Funhouse when it came out is that was the era of the slasher film. And this really, although this is kind of starting out like, the POV of the killer and the putting on the mask like Halloween, and I mean, that's right out of Halloween.
Well, it's an homage to John,
Yeah.
I mean, it truly is.
But what is unique about this is really an old school monster movie in an era of slashers.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things you always said appealed to you about doing this. You didn't want to do another slasher movie.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to do something that was a kind of throwback in a way to things I saw. And
Freaks must have been an influence, right?
Yeah, Freaks was.
Of course.
Freaks was an influence. Or it may have been things that I wanted to see, you know.
Now, did you do you remember what were some of the first horror movies you saw? Was Freaks one of the earlier films you had seen?
I think I'm not sure. I think maybe Frankenstein, but I mean not in first release, but,
right?
You know, but actually I didn't see it the first time because I got so damn terrified. I was taken by my parents that. And Frankenstein, it was on like, you know, the 15th re-release.
Right.
And Frankenstein was supposed to be there in person.
Really?
Yeah. I mean the creature. And when the lights faded and he was supposed to come walking down the aisle, I kept having this vision, he's going to come get me for sure. I'll be jerked up out of my seat and shredded.
So here we are, very close into the movie, and we've paid homage to Psycho, we've paid homage to Carpenter and Halloween, and you know, but you flipped it on the audience. It's the little kid, it's the brother.
Yeah.
Very much shades of to come with, like, you know, Friday the 13th Part 4, where it's the little kid Corey Feldman who's, you know, making all the monsters and stuff like that. It's also similar. The kids in Salem's Lot had all the monster stuff in their rooms.
Yeah, like in Salem's Lot.
Yeah.
Like, but that, you know, I mean, I had today, I mean, to this day, I have monsters.
Yes, I have to add that right before we came here today, I picked Tobe up and was stunned to see most of those carnival characters that we saw in that great opening credit montage. You still have.
Yeah.
They're in your house.
Those things are old, too. I mean, they're like from the Chicago's Fair, Chicago World's Fair and whatever. I'm not sure of the date.
So now we get into Bride of Frankenstein. So this is
and dysfunction here.
Yes.
Alcoholic mother.
Yes. So this poor girl has an alcoholic mother, a disinterested father, and a psychopathic little brother.
And I felt like, maybe he is psychopathic.
Yet, and again...
I'm very curious at any rate.
Another theme in your films, it's like, who's the real monster? Who's the real evil? Is it the disfigured guy, you know, in the Funhouse, or is it this family?
The mother turns out to be quite a character, as I'll point out later. I mean, pretty much of a non-concerned family.
Right. Hey, he kind of looks like George Bush.
You know,
Junior. I never thought of that. Look at him.
Well, does he?
A little bit, maybe. Maybe I'm projecting. We had these talks about politics on the way over. So, talk about the casting process. This young lady here.
Elizabeth Berridge was a New York actress, and the casting. There was a casting session here in L.A. that Cooper Huckabee came out of it, and the little boy was cast in New York. It was also then I had to fly to New York and have a casting session, and for the Barker,
Kevin Conway.
You know, Kevin had been a Tony winner, and I saw him in he was in a Stallone film.
Oh, yeah. Which one was that?
Oh,
I know. Yes, but he had done a lot of stuff.
He'd done a lot,
Some horror stuff.
And I'm not sure he had done horror, but because he was mainly, a theater actor, and so he said he would do it under the condition that he got to play all three Barkers.
Ah.
And I said, man, if you can pull that off, and then I started thinking, that's great anyway, because it's, kind of contained world, the circus world, and maybe
Now, how much the script was brought to you? How much did you shape the script from where it was to what it became in the film?
I what percentage I don't know, but I brought Larry Block, the writer, with me to Miami, and we made changes throughout.
That's cool. It's not often that the writer is allowed to come to the set of a film.
Yeah, no, well, Larry, we had a communication, and he understood from a behavioral, he had a behavioral point of view.
Did he have the love of the classic horror films like you?
He must have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious in the film itself. Now, at the time, 81, we had just had Michael Myers, Friday the 13th, Jason, of course, Leatherface. Did not have a sequel to Leatherface yet at this point.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Had you been asked in the ensuing years of the first film to do a sequel?
I'm telling you, John Milius and I tried to do a sequel to Chainsaw. We went all over Hollywood, and they just, I don't know. I mean, they even though it was an extremely extraordinarily successful film,
right?
It was hard to. I think it was just so tough. It's such a raw film. It was.
Even in the wake of the success of films like Dawn of the Dead and Halloween.
Yeah, I mean, totally. I can't understand it to this day.
So when you did Salem's Lot was so successful, many consider one of the best adaptations of King. Very, very tough for television. Very extreme for television. So. Now you got Universal behind you on this film. Did you go into this? This was different from just being, more independently made like Chainsaw. Was it a different approach for you on this film with more of a larger crew, bigger budget, anamorphic?
Well, I learned so much from Salem's Lot. I mean, about the workings of the industry,
right?
And I was really. I really knew how to deal inside the studio after Warner Brothers and
right.
Salem's and how to shoot a 4-hour movie in under 40 days, something like that. And so I always wanted to do anamorphic, of course, and I was
right.
just.
Did you tell them? Now, was that your suggestion? Did you say, "Hey, I want to shoot this anamorphic"?
Oh, absolutely.
And they were cool with that.
Yeah, they were cool with that, and also surround sound and and all of that, and it. This was the first film mixed at the Hitchcock Theater at Universal.
Really?
Yeah, there was an automated theater and it had a big floppy drive, so you could go through, you could punch in, and you could do all these great things that you could do with sound now. But we ended up having to do a lot of it the old way because it being the first film, this big hard disk would continue to fail and lose information and so forth.
What's cool is I remember when it came out, that amazing poster with just the mouth and the saliva, but it did make a deal of it on the poster in ultra stereo.
Yeah.
This was really sold as a prestige horror film versus an indie that just the cinematography is very slick in this film. It's really the compositions that you guys did are really phenomenal.
Andrew Laszlo shot this, and he shot. I wanted Andrew because he shot Warriors for Walter Hill.
The Warriors, really?
Yeah, the Warriors, and the Warriors, the colors were so vivid, and so I mean I was fortunate enough that he was available and came along for the ride.
He did a great job. I just can't wait. This is going to really pop on Blu-ray and surround sound.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah, it'd look better. You know, I mean on Blu-ray. I mean, Blu-ray has a way of seeing things that the film, projected film, you know, does not have.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it at a drive-in, and because most of it took place at night, you have people always constantly pulling in and turning on their lights on and off. A lot of the stuff was, you just got lost on the drive-in movie screen as much as the experience was so great. I remember, and then when it came out on video, of course, it was cropped. So it was like I never really got to see the movie because at the drive-in the lights kept, diminishing half the image, and then on VHS it was cropped. So this is going to be really great to see this.
And widescreen.
Now, was this carnival a pre-existing carnival, or did you guys set it up?
Set it up, yeah. It was a particular carnival show, a traveling show. Mm-hmm. So most all of the rides came from one place, and it was somewhere in their hiatus camp, and we were shooting this. I believe it was off season, and so
when did you shoot it? What?
I don't remember the month. It was whatever off season.
Yeah, it's probably in the fall.
It probably was. It was, but it was pretty hot and humid.
There's some creepy foreshadowing. The God is watching you.
Yeah. Gosh, that was Zelda. That lady was really nice.
Were the actors thrilled? I mean, they must have been thrilled at the height of the horror cycle. To be working in a horror film directed by Tobe Hooper. Must have had no problem getting the actors to do this.
We were. They were psyched. I was psyched. It was. It was a good time. So somewhere about here is where a brown recluse got me.
A spider?
Yeah.
You got bit?
Yeah, and I still have a hole in my.
Those things are serious. I got bit when we were doing Maniacs in Georgia. I got bit on my back, and it swelled to the size of a golf ball. I had to go to the hospital.
There's some people scarred for life.
Yeah. Oh, geez, well. He could have been in the Texas Chainsaw Family.
Yeah, he kind of could. Yeah.
So now we're really there's Barker #1 from Kevin Conroy.
Yeah.
What do you think?
What are you saying here? It's what did it say?
It's right out of Nightmare Alley. Now we're really getting into the world of the Funhouse and the carnival.
And we did find these, I mean, that's obviously real. I mean, it's a few, really heartbreaking anomalies in this animal show.
What do you think the fascination is with freaks? The idea that these anomalies, these freaks of nature, so to speak, two-headed cats. For years, I mean, as long as you can remember, that people they set up shows where people just come and stare. That was real, right?
That's real. Yeah.
So, what do you think it is about humans that are so attracted and fascinated to this kind of thing?
I still think it's connected to the reason we slow down, or not all of us, but slow down to see a car accident, to see something bizarre, something dirty,
You think there's
to be able to visualize the the misfortune actually of it's curiosity. I mean, it's.
Do you think there's a part of it that I'm glad it's not me. When you slow down the roadside, and I mean, it used to be freaks in a sideshow, and then there's movies about freaks, and now it's like there's freak shows on the internet. Anything you want to see.
There's a giant freak show is. I'm talking about Twisted Spirits and things like that.
The internet is like a giant freak show.
Yeah. Well,
Now, this is what I love about this too. Is this is the colors? It's very EC Comics, Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah.
In fact, I think there is an EC comic tale about the origin of the Crypt Keeper, where he was born in a freak show.
Oh, really?
And was in a jar like that.
Yeah, this
A two-headed freak.
little Tad. You know, he's the. It's the brother.
The brother of the quote monster.
Yeah.
And then you sort of have the foreshadowing with the two-headed cow because.
Yeah. Rick Baker did this, and he did, of course, the creature makeup. And
was this the first time you worked with Rick?
I believe it was. Yes, it was. Yeah.
This was a year for him. I think this was American Werewolf and Funhouse, and
yeah,
it was just getting all the Fangoria covers that year.
yeah. And Rob Bottin came to do the appliances. I mean, to do the makeup.
Very cool.
And in fact, Rob was going to be the creature at one point, but you know, Rob's like, I don't know. I mean, he's 6'9"
He's a big guy
or something like that. And I saw a mime. You know, went to a club, and there was this mime doing all these in Miami,
right.
doing all these really interesting moves. And I started thinking that it was like spider-like.
Right.
And I started thinking, well, maybe if this thing could, like, you know, climb up the walls or do. And so that guy's name is Wayne Tobe, and this is the first time.
There he is.
I mean, the guy behind Kevin.
Right. Which is always interesting to me. You know, you talk about the monster within the monster within the monster. I mean, here is a monster wearing a mask of one of the most famous monsters, Frankenstein. Both of them monsters, not so much of evil deeds, but of being ostracized by society.
Yeah.
Not being, you know, accepted because of their outward appearance. And there's something sort of touching about a real deformed personality wearing a mask of a monster, you know, to hide from society.
Yeah.
Was that in the script?
Yeah.
But the actual Frankenstein monster mask, wasn't that your idea to use it?
It came along. He had a mask, and then the mask came off. But it was when Universal, you know, when I had access to, you know, the true Frankenstein image, then it's the way things work out sometimes on film, where it, you know, the war dance of making the film,
yes,
kind of brings up things that you don't plan on. You can't plan on, and they're blessings and of a sort of, you know.
You just have to be ready for them, and, you know, not be so tied into a game plan that you don't allow for those happy accidents.
Yeah, not to be so, you know, into yourself, you know.
That is very interesting that, you know, this film ended up being made by Universal, so you could draw on the classic lineage of the classic monsters, including Frankenstein.
It truly was.
Now, how much of this... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Bill Finley.
Oh, God, yeah.
Just great. I'd worked with Bill on Eaten Alive. I
yes.
worked with Bill later. He was, you know, Phantom of the Paradise.
Of course.
You know, Brian, and I mean,
he did a lot of De Palma films.
Yeah, he was a great guy.
Now, this seems like almost a homage to some of those, you know, those midnight spook shows they used to do in the classic, you know, Svengoolie and all those kind of horror hosts.
Yeah.
His makeup and just his mannerisms is very much like that.
Yeah, he's
Zachary.
He's really.
How much of the film did you storyboard, or did you?
I don't think I storyboarded it. But I only storyboard really when there's special effects involved, because you have to have. I'm talking about optical, digital effects.
Like Life Force.
Yeah, like Life Force had a lot of storyboarding. But no, I find that, I mean, for me, you know, it it affects the performances
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, I like to play with a game with the actor, play with them, not a game. I mean, God knows that, but I mean, let them find their space, let them find what they need, and then, you know, and shoot to accommodate something that will help them. Will help in the staging, will help in the blocking.
Right. That's another sort of fake scare in the film. The first being the shower scene, and now this, which is kind of interesting because you're playing with the audience's expectation of a horror film, especially at this time, a splatter film.
You got to tell you about that. Okay, this I think I shot about 5 takes of this.
Right.
And it's it's pushing in on them.
Uh-huh.
And this is probably take 5. And so somewhere about.
Were they really getting stoned?
No.
That's why they did 5 takes. The actors kept wanting to do another take.
But no. But it started raining.
Yeah.
I thought at the end of this take, and then I realized, under the din of everything, I'm hearing screaming, like real screaming.
What?
And now I'm getting splattered with rain, and it's that ride. The ADs did not cut for 15 minutes, and those people were throwing up and screaming. Let me off, but for God's sake.
The extras,
let us
so it
off
wasn't
here.
raining, you were getting showered with vomit.
No, yeah. I mean, that ride you max out in 2 minutes, you know, and they were up there 15 or 20 minutes.
It just does. You did that all in one long take.
Yeah, and let those people.
Oh my God!
Let them out, you guys. You know, say cut, stop, stop the machines.
Well, now we have the wonderful, lovely Sylvia Miles.
Yeah, Sylvia.
Oh, my God. Of Midnight Cowboy fame and Sentinel. I actually worked with her on a film called Crossing Delancey. She is something else.
Oh, she totally is. Every time I'm in New York, I see her on the... you go to New York and walk around, you know. And,
there's Sylvia Miles, eventually.
Eventually, yeah.
She's still around. She's still doing her thing. She's like Keith Richards. She just keeps going. If there's a nuclear holocaust, there'll be cockroaches, Keith Richards, and Sylvia Miles left.
That's right. I mean, she was so great here.
She's pretty. My experience with her is that she kind of makes her roles her own.
She does, yeah. Yeah, you know. I'll point out a scene later where she said, "Did I just ruin my career?" But
then, of course, she's in the Wall Street movie. She lends the apartment. She rents the apartment to Charlie Sheen. But Sentinel, my God, talk about a movie where they did use real freaks in that film.
Yeah.
They're not, other than like the cow. There's no human being. Yeah, I don't want to call them freaks, but
no,
not in this one, right?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Do you remember? Have you ever actually been to a freak show, the old school?
I don't know. I've been outside. I've seen the banners, like when I was a small boy, but I'm not sure that I have.
Did you have the curiosity to go in and see what was behind?
I was afraid of a lot.
Yeah.
And
what were you afraid of?
I was just I was afraid of monsters. I was afraid of horror films. I'm one of the guys that saw the Thing, the original, and was ducking under the seat, and I was just trying to find out what is all of this. What does all this mean?
So you were both sort of frightened and yet seduced by it, curious about it.
Yeah. I truly was. This is a nice, practical trick here.
Oh, that's good.
Don't come back or I'll break every bone in your fucking body.
That's Sylvia.
Sylvia.
That's Sylvia.
Losing that accent.
So what was the point where you went from being afraid to being, a creator of the stuff that scares people?
I think watching the news, when I lived in Austin before I made Chainsaw, the news feed from San Antonio where they showed in the 6 o'clock news they featured car accidents and would actually pan around and show pool. I don't know. There's some somewhere in there. I just said I equalized with all of it. I said, well, but all of this is a part of our shared experience.
And do you think in some ways you conquer the fear of it by creating it yourself, by embracing it as your art?
That could be. I mean, if I dove into that aspect of this genre that much, I mean, it could be. But I mean, I was attracted to cinema fantastics.
Mm-hmm.
And however, I liked all movies, and I saw almost everything. I did go to 1 or 2 films every day from the time I became conscious.
Really?
Yeah, my dad was in the hotel business, and then there was he had a motion picture theater, and that was my babysitter. And I truly, I believe I learned to speak, to talk
from watching movies. Literally, you've been speaking the language of film since you were young.
I used to, I mean, like in my early 20s, I would still, if a moment was getting dramatic in a conversation, I'd walk closer. I would dolly in. And,
so you're always making film. You were seeing films in your head. You were
or I think I saw reality as film, because I'm only discovering just now that some of my memories from 5 years old, 6 years old,
right,
are not didn't happen. It was something I saw in a movie. And it happened to me about a year ago. A memory that I knew I had, and then I saw it on TV. I saw it on an old movie. And
that's fascinating.
And so it's like I spent most of my life in the cinema.
You were even saying earlier when we were talking on the way over here, you were an usher in a movie theater.
Yeah, I was an usher for a very short time.
And how did that end? What was that you?
Oh well, I got fired. I was a terrible usher. Corman's Pit and the Pendulum was coming out, and I talked to the theater manager into letting me build a descending pendulum to hang in front of the theater. And I did, and I spent, and I made the schedule, and the thing was hanging out there, and
the mayor's kid got decapitated.
Yeah, someone could have, but they didn't. But
speaking of descending pendulums, we've got these,
it's a real thing.
These ladies
Miami.
here, these are local strippers.
Yeah, local strippers, Miami, and it was a different kind of things then. They could twirl the tassels. And,
right.
So,
well, this to me, just seeing it again, it's very Bradbury-esque. God bless Ray Bradbury.
Yeah.
The whole stuff.
Something wicked this way.
Something wicked this way comes, and just all his deep love for the carnival and Mr. Electrico, and you're just hitting every one of those points. The Pandora's box of looking through the tent, the little kid going in the spook house, and I just wanted to comment. I love that shot we just saw a little bit ago, where you see the Frankenstein monster putting the little boy on the ride.
Yeah.
The kid's been seen associated with Frankenstein so much, and little does he know that he's right in the vicinity of the real Frankenstein monster of this world. Your production designer, how a lot of this was pre-existing rides. How much of this were the rides as they were, and what you embellished?
Well, I had a great Academy Award-winning production designer who He did They Shoot Horses. Mark Rabinowitz.
Oh, wow.
They Shoot Horses, Don't They? He did Salem's Lot for me.
Mark Rabinowitz.
And then I had to have him on this. And so he designed and arranged the carnival and all of the rides.
Mm-hmm.
And set it up, and the Funhouse was built. And the interior of the Funhouse was a build. The interior of the magician's tent, and the fortune teller. I mean, it was all, in the stage.
A lot of those, those. I tell you that statue, that fat lady who kind of shakes and laughs. I had nightmares about that.
You did, yeah.
Because it's just the idea of, especially the part coming up where everybody leaves.
Yeah, and she has that last click.
Yeah. But those are from real fair.
No,
some of those.
No, that was a build. That was a build.
And the Humpty Dumpty.
Yeah, well, Humpty Dumpty, and those things that there was an elderly lady living in Miami that we just Mart Rabinowitz found her, and some of these things were made for like the Chicago World's Fair, and I mean those things are like I don't know, close to 100 years old now.
Oh my God! Well,
I mean they were old then.
Oh, for those of you who are watching this, that's called a payphone. That's a telephone booth. They used to have these things before cell phones. You sit in them, you put a quarter in, you make a phone call.
That's right. That's a good.
Oh, there she is.
Yeah.
There she is.
I used to like. I used to love carnivals for me. When I was a little boy, they were scary.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it was they were kind of seedy. They were kind of, but it's a different kind of people. It's a different. It's show business.
Yeah, I mean it's a true gypsy trade. The circus people, the carnival people. I recently went to an old school circus in New Jersey, and you're right. They base themselves in Florida, and then come May, they just travel, and this is their life.
It is their life.
I mean, they live together. They're their own community. It's a very interesting thing.
It is.
Now, was this a set? This wasn't a real ride.
No, this was all built. We were able to get the track and the gondolas and that part was.
It really functioned though.
It really functioned. Yeah.
See, there's Humpty again.
Yeah.
Which you still have in your home. Right?
And oh yeah.
Now this is amazing because I love this part. We used to call these spook houses, and I in Asbury Park, New Jersey, when I was a kid, I would go and they had these, and they were when I was little, I would go in them and literally close my eyes throughout the whole thing. But I just love that. Oh, that's cool. The dark rides. Did you go on those?
Yeah. Well, I went on rides similar to this. I went on rides that had gondolas. I like the walkthrough.
Yeah.
Kind where you go through the, walk threads. You think
now like in Not Scary Farm, you walk through them. They're real people. But back in the day, it was just like. Now this is one of the, for me, for my money, one of the most amazing sequences in this film. Shutting it down. There's always something about a place where 1 minute, like say the beach, and then all of a sudden the sun goes down and it just goes from being packed to desolate.
Yeah, and I want to mention this this particular shot. We had we're fortunate to find a telescoping construction crane that would go 150 feet into the air. And Andrew, a little basket on it. Andrew, Laszlo, myself, and his assistant rode this out, and it got so high into the air, it was kind of scary.
And then it pulled back. It was on wheels.
No, it was just pivoting and telescoping. It had 3 telescope arms.
Well,
and was able to go up and over things, and it's
wow. Well, this is fantastic because you're really seeing the whole geography of the set. And, again, something that you do in so many of your films, from the House of Chainsaw to the Marston House in Salem's Lot, is your location is a character.
Yeah.
This is called the Funhouse, and look at that. What a shot.
Location, to me, really needs to be one of the character, a character.
One time you were talking about how so many films of yours, like Lawrence of Arabia's The Desert and Dr. Zhivago's Russia in the Winter, they're just, it's as much a character as the actors.
Yeah, it's definitely.
So now it's like, almost like, the end of the first act. We've introduced the characters, we've introduced the Funhouse, and now, the real horror and stuff is about to occur. And of course, we have the little kid. There wasn't too many little kids in horror movies back then. Of course, you had in the beginning of Halloween, but it was pretty rare to have a little kid as a main character in a horror film in the 80s.
Yeah, Sean Carson actually, Sean Carson. After this, he did the Jack Clayton make of Something Wicked This Way Comes. He was one of the two little boys.
Oh, he was?
Yeah.
Really? I didn't realize that. So he had quite a background in doing carnival horror films. Do you ever? Just out of, I guess, what was he, like 10 there? So
probably.
He's about 40 now. Do you ever run into some of these actors? I know you said you meet Sylvia Miles, but like the kid here, or the other kids.
Yeah, sometimes I do. I haven't seen Sean in a long time. I did see Hunter Carson a couple of years ago.
I guess some of the horror conventions and stuff is an opportunity to reconnect with your casts.
Yeah, it is. I love the anamorphic flares.
Yeah.
That's...
Okay, so now we're, like we were saying, it's like the midway point of the film, and you're increasing the stakes.
Yeah.
Everybody's gone. The kid's there alone, separated by his sister and her friends.
Yeah, finds the car, and I guess that means something is up, the carnival is...
Our little monster fans about to find out what real horror is.
Yeah.
So you were saying earlier that you didn't storyboard because you didn't want to be restricted by it. So what would be your approach, like when you directing a scene, like coming on? Take me through how you actually would. You're getting ready to shoot a scene. How does it go?
Well,
Tobe Hooper said.
Well, I've done this. I've been doing this since I was. Commercials. Like 60 commercials, 60 documentaries or more before I shot my first feature, and I just and growing up in a theater, I just always stand where my lens is supposed to go, and or I don't know. It's just I know. And,
do you go through it with a DP ahead of time? Do you block it, or you just wait till you get there, have the actors show up, rehearse?
Have the actors show up and rehearse, and that used to drive Andrew a little wild, and I would throw him by things like Beth Berridge looking through the fan at her family, and of course you can't hear her because of the fan that's coming up in a bit, but.
Did any of the actresses does she have a problem with any of the nudity? How do you break the ice? It's always kind of awkward when it comes time to do those scenes.
I always have someone ask her, like associate producer or someone like that.
Right. Okay.
And, this is the scene that Sylvia, when you'll see her wipe her hands in a moment. On the sheets, and then after that, she said, "Did I just ruin my career?"
I don't know if she could do some of the things she did in the Sentinel. This is pretty mild,
yeah,
compared to that.
Oh, yeah.
Now I know this is may sound silly, but I always wondered, was he wearing the makeup under that mask?
No. No, not. No, that would have been way too much. I mean, that
Right.
mask had it had bladders in it. It had.
In this, did Rick create this Frankenstein mask too?
I don't know. I don't know if he pulled it off of an old mold, or if it was a commercial mask.
Yeah, this is a.
Yeah, it probably did. I mean, because of the color coordination and
Yeah, I'm sure.
that's what I like about a great production designer is everything. It looks good together.
Yeah. Poor little monster having to pay for sex with Sylvia Miles.
Yeah,
I think she should be paying him.
and
But that's just like it's just like this is a kind of an updated version of her scene in Midnight Cowboy with John Voight.
yeah, it is.
A little bit different.
There's some really good dialogue in here.
Was there a lot of ad-libbing done on this? Kevin and Sylvia?
Some. If you go off the script and it makes sense and it's, you can identify it with it as reality. It's okay. Sorry, this
scene is
cracks me up.
a very memorable scene.
Yeah, it truly is.
Frankenstein and comes of age. No pun intended there.
Right.
But it's interesting because although we have a scene like this, the film is actually pretty tame compared to the bloodbaths of the the time it came out.
Yeah.
And I remember it was kind of unfortunate. There you go. She's gonna. There goes her career.
Yeah.
That's a shot. No one could ever accuse Sylvia Miles of being shy.
No.
She owns it.
She does.
I know what you're thinking.
Yep.
Want the money back.
I remember an unfair criticism at the time, but it was kind of true among a lot of the horror fans, is they would gauge a film by how bloody it was.
Yeah.
Which was, ridiculous. But, did you see this new film? Oh, yeah, it wasn't very bloody. And I remember, some people didn't appreciate this film in its time simply because they were expecting to go and just see, a bunch of slit throats and, axe decapitations. And you actually gave them something so much more.
I love films like Dr. Zhivago. I like the development of characters.
Yeah.
And
I always.
sorry,
I know it's
watching
very
the scene.
distracting to see, but again, like here, I love how you have those cutaways. It's like the Funhouse is again a character. It's commenting on what's going on. The way the characters are laughing at it, or they're just sort of impassive to it. But this is our first kill in the film
Yeah.
so far,
Yeah.
and
Well, it's a story.
Sylvia Miles has come and gone.
Yeah. She. Yeah.
Well, actually, it was Frankenstein.
Yeah.
He came, she went. No, there won't be any
I'm happy you said it.
honeymoon. There won't be.
No. Some of this, the film stock was relatively slow back
Okay.
then. And Andrew Laszlo had always wanted to shoot a film with natural lighting. And this is before fast film stock. But he was able to, some of the light on Miles' face is lit with that big lighter.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just again just seeing it. It's so beautiful, and I
It's
love
really
I love like the sort of the comic book EC comic book colors that you had. You had those sort of pink light coming out from that door. It's very EC, very Baba.
Yeah.
You know, all these different gels and colors, like right there.
Like this.
It's so comic book. It's
Yeah.
wonderful. So Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah.
Did you ever do one of those?
Yeah, I did.
Which one did you do?
I did Dead Weight with Whoopi Goldberg and James Remar, Vanity.
Oh, wow, of course. I remember that one. Everybody did one of those back then, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, they were fun.
Well, this has that, again, the very much a Tales from the Crypt feel to it.
Well, it's those EC, you know. I mean,
Did you read those?
Yeah. Well, like 4 or 5 years old. I mean, I found them fascinating.
I know at the time there was such that, that they had the Frederick Wortham, the psychiatrist, went after them. He wrote that book, Seduction of the Innocent, and they had it was almost like McCarthy hearings for Al Feldstein and Bill Gaines. But was there that feeling? Were you ever told by anybody, don't read these comics, don't watch these movies, they're bad for you?
No, they just kind of disappeared, and I wondered where this was, where they'd gone. I missed them.
They were taken off the market for your protection.
Yeah.
So that your mind wouldn't be rotted by
Yeah.
them. It didn't work because look what happened. You grew up to make movies like Texas Chainsaw and Funhouse
Yes.
to keep the nightmare going.
Yeah. Well, there's a nightmare somewhere.
I miss these kind of carnivals and spook houses. They don't.
I do too. You know, I guess it's the end of that age.
It's
Or I haven't seen one. I don't know. I haven't been.
I mean, they're very corporate now. You know, you have the big conglomerates, and they're fun. You know, the Universal Horror Nights and Not
Right.
Scary Farm, but that sort of traveling horror show, that traveling carnival, the traveling circus, very rare.
It is. You know, I see small versions now and again. I saw one in Hollywood about a year ago. But, nothing this, quite this large.
How big was this set? The Spooks ride.
It was big. It was. I would say. Well, it matched the facade. I mean, which was big, and it's an entire. Actually, it took two different sound stages to move back and forth.
Was it? Were the tracks just in sections, or was it an actual ride?
Oh, it was the actual ride.
Oh, wow. You guys used to ride it?
I didn't.
That would be fun.
I didn't.
I'd want to do that.
Yeah.
Hey, forget making the movie. Let's go on the ride.
Yeah. Well, there's some of those rides that there was some. I was standing. We'd wrapped, and the rides were shutting down, and I was standing, kind of up on a mound, and I was having a conversation with some of the extras, and one of the extras lunged at me.
What?
I mean, he flew in the air,
What?
and behind me, he went just behind my head, and I could hear a wham, crack, and it was a big cog, like almost 2 feet in diameter, that had flown off of one of those machines and bounced. It had a rubber outside, and it bounced, and it was going to hit me in the back of the head.
Oh my God!
And the guy saved me. And it broke his arm.
Oh
He
my
broken
God!
2 arms.
So wow.
I mean,
So extras can be of value sometimes.
Oh,
Just
this
kidding.
guy was.
I feel so.
He was, a hero. I mean,
Wow.
could have. It would definitely knock me down.
That would have been very unfortunate if that had hit you.
Yeah, it would have.
So you had a lot. You had flying vomit. You had flying cogs. It seems like it was a pretty dangerous film set.
Well, it was, but no one got hurt.
I think they were less. I mean, now back then, I mean, there was less sort of stringent the rules. You kind of just winged it sometimes.
And no one knew either. It's like going to a carnival. I like this. You never did understand the value of a dollar, did you, boy?
Didn't Kevin ad-lib a lot here in this scene? Is this?
Yeah. He came up with the locals line that you'll hear in a moment.
Right, and then he has that line, "These are freaks of God, not man."
Yeah, that was Kevin. Yeah, that was back in the Freak Show earlier.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Yeah. He would come up with some really good things.
Is he gonna? We're gonna blame it on the goddamn locals.
Yeah,
he made that one up.
Yeah, he made that up. Yeah. I don't know what would. We'll take her somewhere.
And this is the first time we're really getting to see, the inside of the carnival, what's really going on in the Funhouse.
Yeah.
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 Very childlike. You said it was a mime who played the monster.
Yeah.
It's very. It's interesting because when you don't have a face to emote and you're behind a mask, you really have to use your body language to convey.
Yeah, that's why in Life Force I used a lot. I found in London all the mimes I could find, and that was.
That's it.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm always distracted by this, and then when he where's my bunny? The night before. It wasn't until the night before shooting this scene I kept thinking, okay, the script has the story and all is that he takes the mask off, and it came to me that the dynamics between these two characters, he's going to go in a fit of rage, and it's out of that rage that he just tears the mask off.
Mm-hmm.
There he is. He's starting to flip out.
Yeah. And again, what's interesting is so much of this action is voyeuristic on the part of the main characters. They're peeping through holes.
Yeah.
It's almost like us as the audience watching this movie.
That's it. It was the hit in his head.
Yeah. This is the unmasking, a la Phantom of the Opera, and there you go. A very classic. A cover of Fangoria.
It was, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, it's not makeup, it's a mask, right?
It's a mask. I mean, it's a lot of appliances.
With bladders.
Put together, yeah.
But it's not like glued on appliances. It's a mask that had.
I think it was glued on.
It was? Okay.
Oh yeah. Rob Bottin and his crew took a long time getting him ready. What kind of input did you give into the design of the look of the monster? Rick is such a good sculptor and designer. I think it was process of elimination. Like I saw one thing, and then finally the split.
Mm-hmm.
The split head.
Did that come out of the two-headed cow?
No.
What were you going for?
It was just luck that the two-headed cow was. I was looking for something that I hadn't seen.
Mm-hmm.
Something that would be difficult to look at.
Right. It does seem very much like an embryonic, being that didn't evolve much beyond the embryo.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of, you know, as repulsed by it. I always felt sorry. I mean, obviously that's the idea.
Oh yeah.
And there's a compassion for a being that looks like this.
That's total, pathetic character.
I mean, he's really a child.
He's really a child. He hasn't developed, much. I mean, his little brother Tad in the, in the freak show, the animal anomaly tent has the same look. It may. I just don't. I don't recall.
It's interesting because so many of the classic monsters, be it Frankenstein, the Phantom of the Opera, the Hunchback, even King Kong, they're only monsters because of their physical exterior. And I guess they become monstrous because they're denied love, they're denied acceptance.
And this kid, meaning the creature, I expect would be like maybe 18 years old, maybe.
Yeah.
If that.
Yeah, he's a teenager.
His father addresses that situation in a minute, that how he was kind of neglected.
You're 16 years old. You think you have problems because you got a couple extra pimples.
Right.
Try being this guy. Poor thing.
Yeah, I mean.
I guess it with the whole idea of anomalies as a nice way of saying it, freaks, and that doesn't monstrous freaks. That doesn't mean evil. There's a difference between being evil and being a freak.
Yeah. Well, but also he finds himself in a situation that he has to deal with, and he doesn't have the mental capacity to do the right thing.
Right.
And it is definitely not a bad guy. No. He had made several mistakes before that as well.
He's reactive.
He's reactive.
He's not like. I mean, he's very animalistic, and I don't know if you could say that animals are evil. I don't know if evil is a.
No, I don't know.
I mean, they're acting on their nature.
Yeah.
And he's very much doing that too. He's just trying to protect himself. Which is it's very interesting because at this time when you had Michael Myers and who is defined in the movie as pure evil, Freddy's very much evil. I think that this character has more in common with Jason. Both were childs who were neglected.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes down to it, I don't know really. I mean, I don't think Leatherface.
Yes, Leatherface.
Either evil. I mean, it.
That's enough. You're right.
Territorial and protective in his own world and the only world he knows.
I never thought of that. You're absolutely right. There's a lot of commonality between Leatherface and the monster in Funhouse in that they both are part of a dysfunctional family. They're very childlike. The way the monster was in the rage and hitting himself is very similar to how Leatherface is in that one scene when the father comes home and he's just like, he can't articulate.
Yeah.
This is great. Yeah, there he is.
It took a long time to get the timing right on the shooting.
Yeah. What's it like directing a child actor versus an adult actor? Is your approach different?
No. Well, no. I mean, it can be. I mean, it depends on the age of the actor. I mean, when they're very small, when like 4 and 5 or something like that, you kind of talk them through it, and a lot of times say things to get them to react honestly, and so hopefully it's close to the information you need, so getting the honesty out of them is a lot more important than the exact line.
You've done a lot of film where there are children in jeopardy. The kids in Salem's Lot, Heather O'Rourke and Oliver Robinson, Poltergeist, Invaders from Mars. This film. Is it how do you find them? Do they ever become too afraid, or do they always realize it's make believe?
Well, they realize it's make believe, and they know it isn't real, and it isn't that frightening on a movie set, and I always treat them professionally. I mean, I don't direct them as if they were children. I direct them as a professional.
You don't talk down to them.
No,
you
I
just,
don't.
Just treat them like that's. I think they
Yeah.
and they. I think that I've experienced that too, and they respect you for that. They appreciate that.
Yeah.
They are professional actors and actresses.
And they're part of the team.
Do you ever, you talk to the actors, you explain the scene. Do you ever have to, sort of do tricks, to get reactions, certain reactions?
Yeah, so sometimes, like taking two blocks of wood and clicking them together to get a startle. I mean, the most important thing is, in this genre is the behavior being in sync with what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if like in The Haunting, for instance.
Right.
I mean, you see nothing. There's nothing. You hear bumping and thumping, but the reason it's scary is that what you're seeing, the actors do, they're terrified. I mean, so you pick up on their terror. I mean, you pick up on their fear. And I mean, it just sucks you right in. If they're afraid, and you sense the truth in that, then you have the audience.
In many ways, the main characters, the characters experiencing the terror, are avatars for the audience.
Yeah.
And even though so many of your films, and this one deals with outrageous characters, outrageous supernatural situations, but the key would be the actors always playing the reality of it.
Playing the reality of it. And this is where he tells him he'll take him fishing.
This is a very dysfunctional father-son relationship.
You see, I mean, he's really working, on his son.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even when the Barker is talking about those two little Girl Scouts down in Dallas, that was the worst. I mean, you can see this wave of pleasure.
Yeah.
As one way of explaining it.
Well, that's what's so funny. I mean, he's a monster, but I mean, Kevin's playing it as if it's a real troubled father-son relationship, a troubled son. It just so happens he looks the way he does. Yeah. But why it's so believable is because an actor such as Kevin is able to find something that we could relate to. We may not know what it's like to have a monster for a son, but we know what it's like to have a troubled kid.
Yeah.
I think that what's interesting about the best horror films, and I certainly include yours in there, is that you have these unreal scenarios that the audience can relate to in situations they've experienced on a different level, on maybe a less supernatural level. Whether it be, this is a good kill.
There you go.
A good kill.
It is.
It's a good kill, Toby.
It is.
Let's be honest.
This
is part of the job as a horror filmmaker is doing good kills.
That's right. That's right.
You do a good kill.
that was that, it's a very strange scene.
Yes, the parents come back. Who's that actor?
Oh, that's Herb Rabinowitz. He's the brother of the production designer, Mark Rabinowitz.
Really?
Yeah, and he used to be a character actor, do a lot of character roles, and then I think, found some gold at the bottom of the San Francisco Bay.
Oh,
No,
geez.
I saw him on network news saying that, and I thought, oh, you can't.
Wow.
But he, I don't think he did. I mean,
I'll try to find gold at the bottom.
yeah. I mean, it was like, it was.
How long was the process from filming and editing and the whole shebang?
Oh gosh, I don't. 8 or 9 months probably.
Did Universal have a release date set, or were they trying to get it out at a certain time?
I know this. I don't think I was working against a release date.
So you had more of a leisure pace, a
yeah.
leisurely schedule. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, this is
Oh,
kind of a nasty trick.
Yep.
Oh no.
This could have been good in 3D.
Yeah.
I'm surprised no one's tried to remake this yet. They probably have.
Yeah, probably so. And so maybe they'll.
Oh, that was good. What always surprised me, this was the era where every film that made a nickel, they did 3 sequels to, and I always was waiting for a Funhouse 2.
Yeah.
Was that ever a thought? Was that ever a...
No. The sequel. The sequel must. It seems to me came along. No, it was already there. When you go pitch an idea to the studio, there was a time that they would always say, "Well, is there a sequel in it?"
Yes. Yeah.
And now it's turned into, "Is there a franchise in it?"
Right. Is there a prequel, a sequel, a reboot, and a reimagining that we can do with this?
Yeah, reimagine.
So this
I
was.
love that.
It's what I like about it is it's a standalone horror movie.
Yeah, this is the scene I threw in that.
You were mentioning earlier.
Yeah, that Andrew Laszlo got upset about.
Sometimes you can plan something, storyboard something. You get on the set, you just see things that you've never had a chance to see before. And
Yeah, well, the whole fan idea I had to add because I had to find a way for the parents, for her to be looking through some kind of grid, some kind of passageway that she can't get through, and the wind is blowing back in her face, and so is the sound.
right. So that's why they don't hear her.
Yeah, I mean that was like an overnight or 2, 2 days in advance, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Well, you whipped it together pretty good.
Yeah. Now that was shot on the stage, the close-up there, and then the over. No, it's a clean POV, so that was shot somewhere from the location.
The magic of editing.
Oh yeah, man.
This is a nice push in.
Yeah, it is.
You do a lot in this film where after a lot of action, after a lot of mayhem, you just sort of pause for a moment and just like take stock of the layout.
Yeah. Well, you could do that then. It's you could take a little more time.
Really, she's assessing her situation. We're assessing her situation. It's almost like catching our breath. Time to regroup.
She can't get out. Not that way. And we know that she's trapped, and we know.
And we know how dangerous that is because
do.
you saw what happens when a piece of paper goes into it.
Well, the piece of paper went into the. I shot that quite a few times because I wanted that paper to go through there and like shred.
Right.
But it just.
Again, the anamorphic perspective, the widescreen just really gives you the chance to, do these compositions with very Leone-esque here. The foreground
and locked off too. And playing the frame.
Yes.
Instead of adjusting, instead of.
Well, the 2.35 allows you to do that again, this is interesting. You know, watching this, the film, you don't have a cut a second, a cut a minute. You really let the film play out, like you said, within the frame. Let the actors do the thing. Let the story tell itself.
Yeah, it's today. I'm the past. I don't know, the past several years. I have, you know, I have scenes that are like I did one of the Masters of Horror, yeah, that had if I held on a shot for 2 seconds, that was a second too long. You know, and I played more on the reaction,
right,
than the initiation of the question being asked, or you know, so you could see more of the reaction than.
Would you say, you know, as the style of editing, the style of filmmaking has changed, do you find yourself being forced to change with it? Is that a conscious thing, or do you just?
I change with it because I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to do the same thing twice.
Right.
And I love the way Oliver Stone's films got into very fast cutting and into subtextual cutting. You know, like in Natural Born Killers,
right.
The way Tommy Lee Jones in the prison is, you know, one moment himself and the man he would be, and that would cut to a black and white version for 26 frames of his paranoia, and then back to, and I love to layer things now.
I think it serves the story. The style of filmmaking, you know, serves the story you're telling and the mood you're trying to tell. Now, would you, if you were shooting this today, would you shoot it differently? Would you cut it differently, or?
Oh, it would be an entirely different film. I mean, if I shot it today, I mean, not that I would do it differently,
right?
But it's just that's the stage
right.
I'm, you know, because I just, you know, I don't like to repeat myself. I don't like to, I don't ever want to crystallize into to one style.
Mm-hmm.
And
so you embrace the changes in the filmmaking techniques.
It's the only way to grow, because I'm still a film student.
That's great.
I mean, I'm still learning.
I think it's good to embrace change and work with it, and try to, instead of working against it.
You have to throw yourself away. You know, you have to throw away
what came before.
The past, in order for the next, for the next set of fronds on a palm tree to open.
Yes.
You know, to continue life, to continue growth.
Yes. Again, the lighting here, I just love.
And that's one of those
split
diopter shots.
Yes.
You know, it takes forever to line up.
Hitchcock does great. A lot of that.
Yeah.
And Mr. Wells, Orson Welles, that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now we're reaching our conclusion. We are face to face with the kids and the monster, the main monster. Now that's what's interesting. He's really the monster.
Yeah.
Not the ugly guy.
Yeah.
You know. He's the evil man.
Hey, boy, Kevin's way good.
What about the costumes? Did you work? How?
Yeah, there was a wardrobe department, and went through just to get the colors of the costumes right. Went many decisions, because there's only one costume.
Mm-hmm. Well, I noticed the colors of the kids' shirts really pop out. You know, the pink, it really pops out, and that's something that a lot of people. You know, you have to really, as a director, get all your departments to work together for that one vision.
Yeah. Well, that's that's the beauty of having a great production manager that you can count on, that you can express to him the feeling, the look, and all, and then you're given a lot of examples. And then from those examples, So also too, with anamorphic lenses, even though they're so slow, the lenses, and so heavy, there's something unreal about the way things pop.
Yes. Yeah.
As compared to like the new wide Super 35, and you just crop the top and bottom and blow up that, or in the digital world.
Not the same.
Yeah, it's digital's pretty got some incredible advantages in post-production.
Absolutely. It's like directing. You can direct a film,
You can change a wide shot into a close-up. Anyway.
There you go. We got a nice little...
yeah.
The old sword through the back routine.
Yeah. The back them up against the pike. Don't go back there. Throw them back there.
Yes. It's interesting because, although there are some deaths in this, there really is very little blood.
Yeah.
And I mean, there really, if you look at it, isn't that much blood in Texas Chainsaw. So much of it is more subliminal.
Yeah, but
Ooh.
In Chainsaw in the Mind, there's more blood.
Yes.
But I didn't want to make.
Now, was Universal? I think at one time you said they wanted actually more blood in this movie. Was that the case or no?
I'm not sure.
Did they do the test previews back in the day where you show the film to 50 different audiences?
No, they didn't do that in the focus group. They would just decide whether or not they liked it or not, and based on that, get the bookings and put.
Were they pleased? Did you have any problems with the studio on this one?
No,
did they pretty much let you make the movie you wanted to make.
Yeah,
that's good.
And Mason,
and rare.
Yeah, Mace Neufeld. By the way, I just have to say, is a wonderful man, wonderful producer.
He and Bob Ramey did some great stuff. They did The Omen.
Yeah. Mace is just great.
This is great. This is also a big sort of, aspect of the horror films back then. At the end, when all the victims are revealed.
Yeah.
There
was a scene. I forgot what it was, but the creature falls down and starts things again. But it was.
Was there anything that you remember that was cut from the film that you wanted in there? Or?
No, I don't.
That's good.
And it was.
Well, again, what I love about this is, on a thematic level, it's about, fun houses and freak shows are very voyeuristic, and they're places we go to face our fears sort of safely. And here you have these characters who literally become part of the fun house. They become part of the freak show, which I love that theme.
I was fortunate enough for the post-production executive was the great Verna Fields.
Oh,
and and she would come to the mix, to the dubbing stage every day, and she was great.
Now you've built to this point where you are doing a little bit more of the quick cutting, but you've built up to this.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, now they're kind of like, did she see it? Did she or didn't she?
What's fake? What's real?
Yeah. What's in her head?
Which one's the real monster? Which I like, because if you build up to this, it has more impact than if you just everything was cut like this preceding it.
Yeah. No, this would have been the wrong film at the wrong time.
Those props are just fantastic. I love that you still have a lot of those.
Yeah.
That's just great. Where's the mask? Does Rick still have the mask?
Yeah, someone has the mask.
That'd be a real collector's item to have.
Yeah, I somewhere I saw someone has, like the original mask, but it's a head that
They've made.
That looks like it. Yeah, it's,
Oh, which is true with so many films that are often not appreciated upon their release. They find the audience over time, and right now, I mean, you go to the horror shows, and there's so many, unauthorized models of this character, T-shirts, paintings. He's become more iconic now than ever.
Yeah.
And the film itself is another one of those. You have quite a few of those that, weren't as appreciated as they deserve to be upon release.
Yeah, and found its place in the future, or now.
And now get to be just rediscovered in brand new editions. For the people who saw it when, get to discover it again, and then for people who are seeing it for the first time. But what makes your films have a thoughtfulness to it. There's some thinking behind them and some real storytelling that I think allows these films to transcend the moment of their release.
Yeah, to have a life. Yeah.
How was, do you remember when Funhouse was released? Do you remember the reaction?
I think it was out of the country when it was released.
You probably went right into Poltergeist, didn't you?
Yeah, sometime pretty soon after that, yeah. It was probably... but I went to London for a while, too. I spent a lot of time in London.
Did you do a lot of press for Funhouse? Do you remember?
Yeah, probably, yeah. Yeah, but my dad just... I used to get press clippings and, from the publicist.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I would look at the stack, and not read everything. I just found it, if I read everything, I'm, at a certain point, I'm going to start feeling bad.
Well, if it's bad, you don't want to read it because then you doubt yourself, and if it's good, you don't want to read it because then it inflates your ego. It's like, what's reality here?
Yeah, I mean, bring me the good reviews,
And even that,
what,
it's always interesting to me as a filmmaker that the same film can be so hated and reviled by one person and so beloved by another person. What's the reality?
Something very funny happened on this, and I won't say who and then what magazine, but they'd given me a Great Salem's Lot review,
right?
And I invited him to come to the set and spend time, just freedom walking around the set.
Mm-hmm.
And as it happens on the set and in films, for me, it's very difficult to give an interview during shooting.
Yeah.
And so
you're working.
so anyway, I just wasn't able to complete that, giving the interview, and then the next edition that came out, the same person re-reviewed Salem's Lot and gave it a bad review.
Oh God, that's so petty.
But I mean, but
not surprised.
We're into some real effluvia here.
Yeah,
so,
what was whose idea was it to have this guy drooling so much?
Man, I mean,
it's awesome.
I'd have something, I mean, I'd have something kind of.
That's such a great monster. Yeah. So did you? Was his
the poor devil? It's just, I mean, his undoing is an accident. I mean, look, poor devil. I mean,
was his demise always? Was it as scripted? Did you embellish it when you got to the set?
Yeah, that was definitely an embellishment.
Once you saw,
yeah, once I saw the set,
and then he was like,
Mart had
how
done.
could you not have him get
churned
in this?
accidentally too by pulling the crowbar away and then
Yeah, she really didn't kill him. It's almost like he killed himself.
Well, yeah, he did. I mean, it was
Yeah.
like it was an accident.
Just like when he got upset and ripped his mask off.
Yeah.
Oh, poor dude.
Yeah, I'm really feeling.
Yeah, but he doesn't deserve it, really.
No.
He's interesting. Those other people are kind of bland. All the heroes. She's cool.
Yeah, she's this cool.
Now, of course.
I don't know. They're not all bland.
I'm just kidding. I'm
there's
just kidding. Well, they don't have that panache that he has.
Well,
that nice, that cool hair like that.
Yeah.
They're just like regular kids. Come on.
Well, Kevin is anything but.
No, I mean the teenagers. The quote, the victims.
Yeah.
I'm not calling your cast bland.
No, right. Let's. I know you're not, Tim.
It's actually funny because when I saw this, nobody really cheered when he died. Like, they always cheer when the monster dies.
Yeah.
Nobody really was like,
It's a really terrible way to get it.
Yeah. That's gotta hurt.
It's
Now, of course, in the sequel, she's gonna start her own circus.
Yeah.
She'll give birth to a little embryonic anomaly.
Yeah.
She'll
The
have
Revenge of Tad.
Yeah, Tad too. Was it the same actor, the mime, who did all this?
Yeah. Same.
Wow.
Same guy.
Yeah, he really.
Yeah,
sells it.
it's in that that motion.
Again, the calm after the storm.
The gondolas have been butting up against the door so hard from the fight scene. You saw
Right.
them, they continue to bang the door in it.
Yeah. And she is a little shell-shocked.
She is.
She won't be going to a carnival anytime soon.
No. In a moment, the geek will come.
Yes.
The carnival geek will come behind her.
Yeah, that's again. That's what always scared me.
Yeah. That movement is really.
And just that. She just, it's like
that thing was really big.
I know.
It was like huge.
It's just like it's almost like the fates, the gods laughing at her. The gods laughing at her fate. It's just.
Yeah, she's definitely carnivaled out.
There's our sort of sage.
Yes.
Our sage. We got
the
Greek chorus there. The geek chorus.
The geek chorus, yeah.
Because of the geeks at Nightmare Alley.
With his bicycle chain cane.
Yes. Is this that crane you were talking about?
Yeah, this
again?
is the crane. Yeah. This
Yeah.
is going straight up, and it almost seems like. I remember this really being the last shot in the film.
Probably was. So
I mean, the last shot
of the day
of the
shoot. Yeah,
I think it was called a wrap after this shot as well.
What's it like seeing this again now? 31 years later.
Well, I would have said more, but I started watching the film.
Well, that's a good thing. It's so engaging. So, it's a film that upon its release wasn't given its due. So many times that a film is measured by its 3 days of box office.
Yeah. That's a pity that the way films are rolled out or have been rolled out since in the 1980s. It's a couple of thousand prints, and you have to make it in 3 days, and if not,
they pull you.
Basically they do. They pull you.
And here, you used to be afraid of this stuff, and then you made this movie. You kind of conquered your fear, and in many ways, do you feel that us horror filmmakers were a little bit of the outsiders, a little bit of the the freaks?
Oh, absolutely. I think we're not that unlike the Carnival family.
Yes. Well, thank you, Toby, and I hope everybody enjoyed seeing Funhouse looking so good. And And, thank you for making such a wonderful monster movie for us.
Thank you, man.